This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.
Ben Settle, compulsively punchable.
He's the kind of guy who you'd probably just punch on the arm really hard if you ever met him.
Worshipped by feminists.
He pokes fun at feminism and women, just joking around, his whole sandwich making thing.
Mildly inspiring.
Yes, I recommend the Ben Settle Show, and anybody who isn't on it, that's their own loss.
Somewhat authentic.
Ben is a very distinct personality. There's no fluff. I can't stand fluff.
Syrupy sweet.
Tells it like it is, and sometimes may not be the most polite manner, shall we say.
Kind of useful.
So I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on coaching and masterminds, and I've learned more from Ben Settle's podcast than from any of that.
Semi-intelligent.
Ben sounds like a crazy guy at times, but he's one of the smartest individuals in marketing I've ever met.
Mostly forgettable.
He's always in the forefront of my mind.
The BenSettle.com podcast begins now.
This is Ben Settle, BenSettle.com podcast, and we are going to do another 7 glorious email players rules. Well over 100 now, Jonathan. 120 through 126 today.
Wow.
I mean, I don't know. I never thought we'd make it to 100, quite frankly, on those, but I always thought that we would end them at around 50 or 60, I'm like, I don't have anything to say after that. But apparently I have too much to say. I don't shut up, apparently. There was a girl that accused me recently, Jonathan, of when I hung out with her, I guess I'm a chatterbox. When I'm hanging one-on-one with the girl that I'm hanging out with or whatever, I guess I just have no problem just talking. I will do all the talking. I have no problem doing that because my life is just more interesting than theirs. It's just how it goes. But she was very angry when I wouldn't keep talking to her on Facebook Messenger because I hate chatting on those things, right? Because you won't shut up in real life and I can't get you to say anything on here. And I said, well,
yeah,
that's the way it goes. I don't know what to tell you. Well, I don't even know what this has to do with anything. But so 7 email players rules. The idea, and I have to say this every time because I like to give credit where credit's due. I got this idea from the Beige Phillip podcast by Dante Nero, who's a comedian, former pimp, that's what he calls himself at least, former exotic dancer of the year or something, all this stuff. And he has a podcast, it's a very raunchy podcast, so it's not for, any snowflakes, that's for sure, which shows guys how to get their balls back, basically. And he has things codified, into rules. And he calls them the Beige Phillip rules. And I thought, man, I could do that with my podcast. So the email players rules, obviously named after my email players newsletter. And so it is. So number 120, the very first one we'll talk about here. And let me say one other thing, John. I got to say one other thing, because if I don't say this, people will start quoting some of these as if I said them. And some of these I did not make up. These are just maxims and rules and principles that I live life by. Business and personal. Some of these things I've discovered on my own. Some things I've had taught to me. Some things I've just observed others say or do. Sometimes they're quotes from other people. Sometimes they're quotes I somehow pulled out of my buttocks. And so it is. They're all over the thing. So this first one for today is just, and this is going to sound so profound, Jonathan. This is going to be the most profound of all of them. Number 120. Keep breathing. Just keep breathing. I'm going to add one other part to it. Keep breathing because you never know what the tide will bring tomorrow. Now, that comes from a movie called Castaway, which I had watched a few months ago. It wasn't the first time I saw it, but it was the first time in a while since I've seen it. That movie came out in the year 2000, I think. And, he's on this island. Tom Hanks is I don't know if you've seen it or not, Jonathan. Let's just assume that nobody's seen this movie. Yeah, the one with Wilson in it, with the soccer ball. That's his friend. He's been rescued and he's talking to his friend because he's lost everything. I don't know if it was 7 years or however many years it was he was gone. His fiance or his girlfriend at the time was the love of his life. She's with, she's married to another man. She has a kid and a house and all this. He's lost her. She was she was the reason that kept him going every day. Why he didn't just succumb and die, because he wanted to see her again. That's how much he loved her. And, he drew a picture of her in the cave, and that's all he had. He had this picture of her with her. And that was everything. She was everything to him. And he realized one time when he tried to kill himself on the island, or he wanted to kill himself, but he just couldn't do it logistically and not have it be a painful experience. He goes, that's when I realized I just have to keep breathing. I just have to keep breathing every day. Just get up and keep breathing. And he did. And then one day the tide brought in like a part of a porta potty, like the side, like the door of a porta potty or something. And he looked at it and he realized he could turn that into a sail so that he could get up, because he couldn't get past the tide and all that if he tried to like go out to sea. He could build a boat and everything, but he needs to get through those big waves. And so he realized that sail came in. He was telling his friend, he goes, and then one day a sail came in because I just kept breathing and I was there and a sail came and here I am. Now I've got glass in my ice, or ice in my glass in my ice. I got ice in my glass. Boy, I got that. I got glass in my ice. I've got ice in my glass, but I've lost everything. But had I didn't, that's his attitude. He's like, I just kept breathing because you never know what the tide's going to bring in. Now, some people might say, well, Ben, that's a little bit of a gay example that you just brought up. And, ooh, that's a real big email player's rule, Ben. You're really bullying me over. No, here's the point. And for business, for people just starting out, like in copywriting, especially, or any business really, where, you're really struggling with getting clients and customers and all that, just realize you just got to be in the game every day, because you never know when a client's going to come around. You never know when a big customer is going to come around. You never know when some kind of break is going to come, when somebody's going to want a joint venture with you. You just have to be in there every day, consistently doing your thing. And your thing should be writing a daily email, of course. Not that, no one's ever heard me say that before, but that should be the thing. You should just be in there every day consistently, and you don't know what opportunity. I've had so many weird opportunities come up, Jonathan, just because I'm consistently in the game every day. Things I never could have planned out. I remember back when I was struggling, like as a freelancer, a client would just come out of nowhere, literally out of nowhere, and say, I love reading your stuff, and I'd like to hire you. I didn't even know who these people were, and some of them ended up being some of my best clients and highest paying clients. You just got to stay in there, because you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So don't give up. I guess that's another way of saying just don't give up. Keep breathing. Enough said on that one.
I feel a Journey song coming on.
I feel a Journey song. God, heaven forbid. Next one. Number 121, email players rule. The green-eyed monster laughs at confident prey. Now, this is an epiphany I had last year, actually, Jonathan, when I noticed that, there's certain people, let's say girls, for example. I'll pick on girls again, who get very confident, because they're really hot or whatever. They're really pretty and they're in really good shape. And they have like 1,000 guys. They can't even leave the house without guys like hitting on them. And so they get confident until they find a guy that they like who doesn't really just like them. They're into they might be dating multiple girls, or they may just not be as interested. And that's when the jealousy comes out. And that jealousy will reduce the most confident person to a pile of jello. I've seen it happen so many times. I'm sure it's happened to probably everyone listening to this in some way, shape, or form. You think you got it all together. And this goes beyond just girls and all. I'm just saying in general, I got this great client. They would never get rid of me. And suddenly they're talking to your competitor. And suddenly you're getting jealous, and all that confidence goes away, and it starts screwing with your head. Just realize what's going on. This is a completely emotional thing. It's not necessarily something you need to panic about. But that jealousy can help you if you use it to go further, and you use it to work harder and try harder. And, don't fight it. Go with it. When the green-eyed monster comes at you because you get jealous of something or someone, you use that to work harder, and don't get lazy. Don't get complacent. And it'll be your friend. The green-eyed monster will be like a friend of yours. It'd be like you have the green-eyed monster chained up with a muzzle on it so it can't attack you, but you can control it and have it attack other things. That's the only analogy I can think of for that, Jonathan. That's the best I can do. You people are always getting on me about this stuff. It's the best I can do. What do you want me to do? That's the best analogy I can come up with. All right, enough said on that one. Email players rule number 122. Don't give away your superpowers. So I wrote about this in the February 2017 Email Players issue. It's something I heard the late great comedian and deep thinker Patrice O'Neill say. That he was a comedian. If you don't know who he was, just trust me, he was one of the greats. He died just shortly where he probably would have become a worldwide phenomenon. He was just a very deep thinking guy. And I remember reading this thing about now he was talking about don't giving a girl your superpowers, right? Like don't change for them and all that. And he used the analogy of Superman 2, the movie Superman 2 for Christopher Reeve, back in the 70s, wherever it came out. And he goes, remember in Superman 2 did you ever see Superman 2, Jonathan?
Long time ago.
Okay, but you probably remember kind of part of the plot was Lois Lane asked Superman to get Clark to give up his superpowers and become immortal like her, like just a regular person like her. And what, she didn't fall in love with Clark Kent. She was in love with Superman with those powers, but she just didn't know it. And he let her take his powers away. So he went and he had his powers taken away, and suddenly he's getting his ass kicked in the diner. He's walking through the snow in Antarctica to get back, to get those powers back. The villains that he's supposed to be defending the world against are attacking everybody and threatening everything, all because he gave his powers up. Just for some, and Lois wasn't even like that attractive. That's the amazing thing about it. Like, you think they would have picked I shouldn't go there. I'm not going to go there. But I'm just saying, like, he gave up his powers for her, and she ended up despising him for it. He ended up getting his ass kicked, and so it is. Well, this happens does this just happen with guys when they find a girl who tries to change them? Because to quote the aforementioned Dante Nero again, a girl falls in love with you for what you are, spends the rest of the relationship trying to change you into something you're not, and then leaves you for someone who is what you originally were. And this happens all the freaking time. Jonathan, when I first quoted that in the February 2016 Email Players issue, that one quote got me more feedback. Guys, married dudes were writing me back. And in some cases on the phone calling me saying, Ben, that is so true. And you really got me thinking about this. Well, I didn't come up with this. These other guys did, but it's very true. And so it is when you give away don't give away whatever it is that made you what you were, attractive to someone. Don't give that up because they ask you to. They don't know what they're asking. Jonathan, they don't know. They need to be, you cannot listen to them. And this goes for clients and customers and all that. If I listen to what my clients or customers told me to do, Jonathan, another Dante Nero, I'm just quoting him like crazy today. Another one of his things is, don't let your girl steer your ship or she's going to run it up on the rocks. And I've adapted that to business. You can't let your customers steer your ship or they'll run it up on the rocks. Well, you can't let them take your superpowers away either. If what it is you do, whatever it is, you can't be changing for people just because they have a brain fart. And people will do that. They will try to get you to change your entire business and the way you brand yourself and all that stuff. I had one person who I won't name. Now, I've been building my personal brand. I don't mind using the word brand. A lot of direct response people, I don't mind it because I think it's a good description. I had a friend try to get me to change my personal brand, like how people look at me, because they had this like silly white bread, epiphany. Or no, his wife did. It wasn't even him. And he wanted to make her feel better. So I'm supposed to use her idea, which would have made me look like an idiot to my audience, just to appease somebody else. And I said, no, I reject this whole idea. I'm not doing this. I don't care who it makes it feel bad. Screw that. So don't give away your Jonathan, never give away your superpowers, or Cupcake will have you, she'll be getting you beat up in the diner and you'll be walking to Antarctica to find your green crystal and get your powers back and all that.
Don't worry,
just not necessary.
My balls are still right here attached to me.
And on that note, let's go to Email Players Rule 123. If you want to make an angry woman behave, ask if she's hungry. So, Jonathan, have you ever tried this? Like, where Cupcake's mad at you, like, and you screwed up, like, deservedly mad at you. It's not like something you could even cover up. You can't talk your way out of this. You can't. But then you just say, you want to go get something to eat.
That's
Suddenly,
new.
Dude, there's this, I saw this on Twitter once where somebody took a picture of their pug. Like, they had a pug just looking like from behind. So it was like looking straight, right? Like, whatever. And then there was a picture next to it where that pug the head was slightly turned toward the camera. And the caption on the first one was, when your girl's mad at you, like she's staring away, ignoring you. And then the second one was when you ask if she's hungry,
nice.
Suddenly she's perked up looking at you. And I'm telling you that it works. It works like crazy. There are girls listening to this who would say, it'll never work on me. No, it'll work. In fact, it's the ones who say it don't work on them. It works on them the most. And before anybody thinks that there's not a business application to this, let me just dispel that for you right now. A story I remember reading Dan Kennedy talk about when he was, I don't know what the flight was. I don't know where he was flying to. I don't know what airport it was or what airline it was. But apparently he was on a plane and something was wrong where they couldn't take off or anything, but they wouldn't let people off the plane either. They were there for like 6 or 7 hours on the plane, just sitting there. They wouldn't even let them get off the plane to go back into the airport. And obviously people were fuming angry, right? Like, that's a big deal. It's a long time, right? Like, well, you're going to be here for 6 hours. It's like, shoot, the flight was only supposed to be like 2 hours, Well, he said what the airline did was they just started serving everybody ice cream and everybody was happy suddenly. So You know, there's many applications to this very simple stuff. And if you think, you know, you could look at this tactically, you know, and in a way it kind of is, but it's based on the principle of, you know, find out what people want and show them how to get it. Like the great Bernard Baruch said, who was known as the most persuasive man of the 20th century. Well, everybody likes ice cream, and, you know, every girl wants to go out to eat. So there you go. Free advice. Email players rule number 124. Typos build character for spelling Nazis. They really do, Jonathan. Like if you know, I know that you probably find spelling Nazis and all as annoying as I do. You know, and you know these idiots who like you sent an email out that you spent like 4 minutes writing that just made you a bunch of money, and some idiot has to write back saying, well, there's 5 typos in this. You know, like as if proofreaders make anything.
Yeah.
Like so, I was telling this to there's an A-list copywriter. Her name is Kim Kraus Schwalm. I hope I pronounced her name right. She's become a friend and brilliant copywriter, by the way, just brilliant, one of the best in the game. But she's got like this thing with typos, like they really bother her. So I said, don't worry about it. Typos will build character for you. You know, I'm going to purposely put them in there now to help build her character. But it's true. Like if you really want to help a spelling Nazi out, you know, put some typos in there. Now this has other applications to it too. I mean, this isn't just about typos. When something really bothers someone, sometimes it's good to just do whatever it is that bothers them so they stop being so hung up on it. So they realize how silly it is, and so that you can make them a better person. Now, Jonathan, I can't really think of any specific examples off the top of my head other than the typo one, but I know there have been many times where I've tormented certain people by doing things that they didn't want. And I did them a favor, and they should be thanking you when you do that. Email players rule number 125. Yeah. And chicks are going to love this one.
I'm going to share that with Cupcake.
Oh, you're already laughing. You're already laughing at this one. But it's true. What I'm about to say is true. It happens. It's my opinion, but it also happens to be a fact that single girls are single for a reason. And it's not because, I want to be single. It's horseshit. Whenever they say I prefer, that they're lying to themselves, and that's what they have to do. The rationalization hamster is spinning out of control. No, it's because they don't want to fix something about themselves or whatever. That needs to be fixed. And either they're too picky or whatever, or maybe they're just doing something to turn dudes off. I don't know. It depends on the girl. But there's no reason for a hot girl to be single if she doesn't want to be. It's just a fact. Now, for guys, it's a totally different thing. Their guys are single because they don't know how to play the game. So that's a whole different thing in itself. But for pretty girls, at least attractive girls especially, there's no reason why they're single if they don't want to be single other than themselves. And unfortunately, many don't want to change anything about themselves because the princess attitude and all that. And but this is the medicine we dispense here on the bensettle.com podcast, Jonathan. I'm trying to help people here. I really am.
You're welcome.
You're welcome. Exactly. People are going to hear this and they're going to say, Ben, you're just some kind of, you're just being mean. I'm not. I'm trying to help. All right. Now, if my help's not appreciated.
You sound like my dad. He says, you look fat. I'm trying to help you.
Well, but see, I don't give that kind of medicine to people. I'm not even saying like anything's wrong. Like I'm not calling a specific trait out. I'm simply saying there's a reason. And I'm just going to leave it at that. And it could, and a lot of times it depends on them. It's obviously all depends on them. But a lot of times it's just something that they could easily fix and change, but they don't because they don't think they have to. That's been my experience. Now, granted, there are many people listening to this. This does not apply to you, and I'm not talking to them, okay? But those who need to hear this message have heard it. They can accept the medicine, they can reject the medicine, or they can attack the doctor. I don't care, but at least the medicine has been administered. So moving on to email players rule number 126, and then we'll wrap this up. You need to take responsibility if you want to be taken seriously. Now, I had a little, last year I had a snafu with a specific Facebook group, actually, an entire Facebook group, Jonathan, of girls who did not quite like my ways, as I would try to pick fights with them all the time. But at the same time, they were doing things that some of the people in that group would come in at me, attacking me for no reason, right? And then they'd go cry. They go back to their group and start crying about me. By the way, which was one of the most profitable weeks I've ever had. Like my list, it was amazing. Like this is a whole other thing of itself. I'm avoiding names and I'm avoiding any details because the group is owned by a friend of mine, and I promised her I would not do that, and I'm not going to because I think she's doing a good thing with her group there, and I want it to be what it is. In fact, I was the one that encouraged her to build that group of all girls. all girl copywriters. But, you know, sometimes things happen and so someone comes in attacking me. And of course, I'm giving back in my own way twice as hard because, you know, Wing Chun, this is what we do. And at the end of when all the smoke finally cleared, I had to tell my friend, I said, look, I'll stop this. Okay. I'm not going to mess with you people anymore. I'm not going to do it. I was out of line in a couple cases, probably more than a couple cases. But at the same time, you got to tell your group to stop doing the same horse shit to me because they're going to have to take some response. This isn't all on me. Got to take some responsibility. They did. At the time of this recording, everything is fine. I don't know what will happen by the time this is aired because, as I said at the beginning of this podcast, Jonathan, you never know what the tide is going to bring in tomorrow. And I think that is a very poetic and fitting end to this episode of the BenSettle.com podcast.
All right.
You probably want to know what I'm going to talk about next week.
Yeah, what you got for us?
Well, the next couple of weeks, I'm going to go all Wing Chun on your butts. I'm going to talk about the concept of why you should embrace El Bembo's sticky hands. And that'll be fun. So
for all you ladies out there. All right, another BenSettle.com podcast is in the can. We'll be back with you next time. Thanks for tuning in.
You've been listening to the BenSettle.com podcast. To get your hands on a free issue of Ben Settle's prestigious $97 per month email players newsletter, simply go to www.bensettle.com.
This is the podcastfactory.com.